This episode of the Sloopcast is brought to you by the Mad Canadian Barbecue Company. The Mad Canadian Barbecue Company is an Ohio-based company where they usually say our season will take your barbecue from good to great. With great seasonings such as the Cajun, the S&P Bud, the Oak, and the Old Fashioned. Can't go wrong with any of these great seasonings that the Mad Canadian has over at the madcanadianbbq.com. That is the madcanadianbbq.com. Be sure to use the promo code SLOOPCAST10 at checkout for 10% off. That is SLOOPCAST10, 10. While you're there, be sure to check out the 3 great deals that the Mad Canadian has for Christmas.
Oh, froze up. Got the freeze ups.
Got me there. I apologize. I totally forgot what the names of them were there.
Well, the whole hog is the entire collection. Then there's the spicy sweet, or is it sweet and spicy? I forget what direction that's in.
We have the whole hog, the just send it, and the sweet heat.
Sweet heat, that's what it is.
The sweet heat. Check out those deals that the Mad Canadian has over at the madcanadianbbq.com. Mad Canadian Barbecue Company, where they have your butt covered.
This episode of the Sloopcast is also brought to you by the Iron Bean Coffee Company. Kyle, here is the unicorn. And I point out the unicorn to show you that it's empty. I finally opened the unicorn. So the unicorn, if you don't know, well, that's the thing, you don't know. You have no idea what's in it. You just kind of have to smell it and try it and figure it out. So I'm going to guess. That's what I'm going to do for this ad read. Ironbeancoffee.com, by the way, to support a veteran-owned and Ohio-based roast-to-order coffee company. All right. Again, ironbeancoffee.com. I think it's blueberry-based. And I know they already have a flavor called the Intense Blueberry, but I think there's something else in here, some sort of spice, so I'm wondering if it's like a blueberry muffin or a blueberry pie. I'm thinking it's something like that. So that's my guess of what's in my particular bag of unicorn. But the fun thing about the unicorn is you never know what's going to be in it. So that's just fun, right? If you want a little bit more control, there are, of course, many, many different coffees available that they'll tell you exactly what's in the bag. And again, you can find all of those at ironbeancoffee.com. That's Iron Bean Coffee, America's local coffee roaster. What's up, YouTube? How you guys doing?
You guys surviving?
I wonder how much of our YouTube audience is in panic mode and how much of our YouTube audience isn't.
It was a very interesting game.
You know what, Kyle? Let's spend an hour talking about it.
Yes, let's do that.
Okay, let's rejoin our audio listeners. We've got barbecue back here. You're all invited. Welcome to the Sloopcast. How are you doing today, Kyle?
I'm doing all right. How are you, nerd?
Oh, just doing fine. Could you hear it when the dog bumped his nose on the microphone? Okay, so that's just for the YouTube people?
Yep,
okay,
I didn't hear it.
That's fine. He just straight up like, I'm gonna smell this microphone now, and it bumped and it shook, and that's fine. He's a curious puppy. Kyle, we're here to talk about Ohio State football. Let's do 2 quick pieces of news. Then let's do what everyone came here to do, or at least listen to us do, and let's talk about Ohio State, Indiana. So let's get those 2 quick pieces of news out of, actually 3, because I forgot that because of our record versus our release schedule. Kyle, Quinn Ewers is a Buckeye. He has committed to Ohio State.
Yep.
I forgot that we did not talk about that on the last episode real quick.
Yeah.
Let me just say this real quick about Quinn Ewers. Special. Like special. Like real good.
Very.
I know that Ohio State has been getting a lot of good quarterbacks lately. I think Quinn Ewers has the opportunity to be the best Ohio State quarterback to ever commit to the Ohio State Buckeyes. Anyone who knows how Justin Fields got here probably notices my word selection, as Justin Fields did not commit to Ohio State.
Yep. Currently, Quinn Ewers is the second ranked player according to the composite of 24/7 Sports.
Yeah, but their proper ratings have him number 1.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, and he's a quarterback, so that's always worth an extra point or two in my head.
Yes,
because as we like to say, quarterbacks win championships. All right, Kyle. What of our other 2 quick pieces of news?
Yep. For the first time that we'll talk about it, or officially, the first playoff show will be announced this week, and we'll have their first week of who's in and who's not for the playoffs this year.
And we also now have a kickoff time and date. We already had the date, but we now have a kickoff time and channel, is what I meant to say, for Ohio State versus Illinois. That will be on Fox Sports 1 for some god-awful reason, and that will be a noon kickoff. Kyle, one good piece of news about the playoff show starting this week, we can finally start talking about rankings.
Yes.
Without apologizing for it beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
now is when rankings matter.
Yes, and it's actually from a source that matters.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike the coaches or the AP, which is meaningless.
Yep.
All right, Kyle, let's get into the bounce back. Ohio State defeats Indiana 42-35. Kyle, this was not drastically far off from my final score prediction. I'd like to point that out.
It wasn't either for me. I think if it was one less touchdown, about the same there. About the same.
Yeah, if Ohio State had made both of their... Or no. They chose not to kick one field goal and miss the second field goal.
Yes.
If they had done that, then I would have nailed the Ohio State score perfectly had they kicked that field goal and had they made that field goal. And if like one of Indiana's touchdowns got magically turned into a field goal, then I would have. So I'm a few field goals away from nailing the score prediction, and I don't say that to brag. That's not my intent here, because everyone who follows the Slew Picks closely know I suck at predicting things. I point that out instead, Kyle, to say that this was the game that Kyle and I were attempting to prepare you for. A lot of people have a lot of bad feelings about this Ohio State game, and I'm not here to tell you those bad feelings are wrong. We can look at the stats, and we will, and talk about some things that are drastically wrong. That being said, this was not unexpected.
To a degree.
Okay. The fact that Ohio State was up 35-7 and then gave up all those points. Okay. How we got to that final score was unexpected. I will give you that.
Yes. All right. So let's go ahead and back up here. So first half, Ohio State goes in at halftime 28-7. Probably about reasonable, around the same score that I kind of was feeling for Ohio State
at halftime.
At halftime, there, yeah.
No,
I was thinking at halftime, and then Indiana finds their way to score more points in the second half. That's going into the game. That's kind of my mentality. But that first half, let's talk about the first half though. The first half, Ohio State, very dominant in the first half.
Kyle, your video camera has turned off.
Oh no. Let's turn that back on.
There we go.
All right. Yeah, the first half, Ohio State very, very dominant there.
Mostly the second quarter, if we're being honest.
Yes.
Well, okay, I might be wrong. Please, you continue talking.
Other than the dumb penalty or dumb turnovers that Justin Fields had.
Yeah.
Defensively, Ohio State defense just did exactly what they should have done in that first half. They really took care of, really held Indiana in check. They had the
Yeah.
one drive there, which okay, yeah, your Indiana's offense was really good. We knew going in that their offensive their passing attack
Yeah.
was really good.
Yeah.
But
We said that many times on the
Mhm.
Friday show.
Yeah, but took me, what really surprised me, two things. One, the amount of turnovers that Justin Fields had, just the
Yeah.
terrible, terrible decisions, just
Yeah.
throwing it up there, hoping for a
Twice.
50-50.
Twice.
And yeah, it's, I don't know if he was trying to preserve his percentage
I
ratio or what the case was, but this is that case what we talked about in the past about trying too hard and not doing and just doing your assignment, not trying
Yeah.
to do too much. Do your assignment, do the dirty work, do the hard work,
Yep.
and everything else goes into line.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally. I'm not going to say that Justin Fields was consciously attempting to like preserve his lack of incompletions. I'm not saying that was what he was thinking when he threw those passes that he should have just thrown away, and I'm not saying that he thought that before the game. Hey, I have to make sure to keep. But that stuff rolls around in the back of the head.
Yep.
You hear that noise, it rolls around in the back of your head, and maybe you start to feel a bit invincible. Maybe you start to feel like you can do no wrong, and you get humbled a bit. And it's what's weird is that Justin Fields made stupid plays, which is just not something we've seen from him ever at Ohio State. Was him making like egregiously irresponsible plays. The second two interceptions were that was just not very smart.
No, absolutely. Especially how we started when we first saw the game started. Indiana got the ball. I think they had one first down, punted it. Ohio State just went
Yeah,
3-4 plays.
two.
Okay, two plays, two plays, and just scores a touchdown, just ease. And we're like, oh man, this is going to be a blowout here. And we had thought that, and then I think it was the next drive, the turnover there, and we're like, oh, all that momentum is slowly dying away. Second quarter comes around, second quarter comes around, Indiana scores a touchdown, ties it up, and then right after that, it was just boom, boom, boom
Yeah.
for Ohio State. And
The-
Ohio State was able to, I think on one of them, it was that last touchdown, the fumble recovery going down like 95, 96 yards on that final drive of the first half there to
Yeah.
pretty much a 14-point swing, which that's probably the game right there if you want to really look at it that way too. That one play right there, that recovering that fumble, and Ohio State going down and score, that's essentially the game right there, the game difference.
All right. So you talk about a 14-point swing, and I want to roll that into a thing I prepared, and I wrote this all in the notes. So Kyle, feel free to jump in and take some of these numbers as well. Don't let me just read this entire thing.
All right.
I basically did something called by the numbers. So here are some numbers to keep in mind from this game. The number two missed IU fumbles in the first quarter by the referees. You want to talk about a 14-point swing? A obvious fumble by Indiana that they didn't bother to review. I've seen Big Ten replay officials blow down to the refs to review 5-yard completion plays in the first quarter on first down. I've seen Big Ten official. You have a turnover, a pretty obvious turnover, and you don't at least have the guys come and take a look at it. And then they actually do take a look at the Penix fumble that was a fumble, despite the fact they called it an incomplete pass. Everyone Mike Pereira came on and said it. Both Joel Klatt and Gus Johnson said, oh yeah, he lost control of that before his hand went forward. He lost control of that before his hand went forward. And then the Big Ten official had the nerve to get back on the mic and say that the original call was confirmed. I would almost not be mad and almost not have brought this up. A, if they had looked at the other play, and B, had simply said, not enough evidence. I wouldn't have liked it. I would have accepted that. You want to say it's confirmed? Oh, no. There is nothing confirmed about that.
No.
All right. Number 3 is another number to keep in mind. 3 interceptions by Justin Fields. Kyle, this was Justin Fields, agree or disagree? This was Justin Fields' worst day as a Buckeye.
Yeah, I would definitely think so, yeah. I don't think he had a game where he had more than 2 in a game. Definitely the first time he's had more than 1 interception in a game, I believe.
Kyle, he had college career 3 interceptions before this game, total. He matched his career total in this game. Now, I point all of this out. I say that Justin Fields had a terrible game. He said so himself in the post-game press conference that he had a terrible game. Anyone watching knows that Justin Fields just had the absolute worst game of his college career. That being said, he threw 60% completion percentage, 300 yards, 10 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns. Oh, by the way, he also ran for an additional 78 with a touchdown.
So,
and this is his worst game ever as an Ohio State Buckeye.
So against the Clemson game, he did have 2 interceptions as well. I thought there was just the 1, but no, it was 2 interceptions that he had there.
Yeah, we all remember the last one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, unfortunately. But that rating, that quarterback rating there was 122, which I think is the lowest that he's ever had. Because if you look at...
Whose quarterback rating are you looking at?
I'm just looking here, just quickly on ESPN's here.
Okay, so just want to point out I didn't write it in the notes. Per Yahoo, it was like 146, his quarterback rating. But
for the Indiana game?
Yeah.
Yep, 146. Yep.
Oh, okay. You were talking about the Clemson game.
Yeah, the Clemson game, was as lowest he's ever had it, is 122, which is still like a 65% completion. He had 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions that game.
But also consider competition level.
Also consider competition. If you want to look at Big Ten regular season, by far the lowest rating he ever had was against Wisconsin, where he was at a rating of 148.
Was that the state? I think I have high school on the mind. Was that the conference championship game where they started off real slow? No, that wasn't.
Nope, this was in the regular season. They still won like heavily 38-7 against Wisconsin, but he was 12 for 22 in that game.
Okay. That would be this game.
Yes,
right here.
That game
right
there.
For the YouTube watchers.
Yep. And that was his lowest completion ever at Ohio State, 54%. So I guess what we're ultimately trying to get at here is that even though this was one of his worst games, you could argue his worst, the second worst game, it's still really good. 300 yards. He had 3 total touchdowns for the game. Yes, he had 3 turnovers as well. But
I just want to say it. I feel like I was going to bounce around it, but honestly, we talk too much on this show and have trouble saying under an hour, so I'm just going to say it.
Yep.
Turnovers aside, if JT Barrett had put up these numbers, we'd all be clapping from our roofs.
Yes.
That's all I'm saying. Kyle, number 4, another number to keep in mind, number 4, which is to say that Ohio State is now 4-0. I know this feels bad, and I think one of the reasons this feels bad is because we have a a set idea of who and what Indiana is in our head, and that is not accurate this year. Indiana's a very good football team.
I also want to have a number 4 here as well for you. That is
Okay.
4 games in a row for Garrett Wilson with over 100 yards a game.
Kyle, look down on the list. That was number 100. To keep in mind, the number 100 for Garrett Wilson's 4 straight 100-yard games.
Well,
So Kyle read number 100. Yeah, I never said we had to do them in order. I never said that. So we're fine. Kyle, you want to pick up another one?
sure. So, let's see. 10 previous to this game, Ryan Day has beaten every Big Ten opponent by 10 or more points.
Yeah. This is the first game ever in Ryan Day's head coaching career that he did not beat a Big Ten opponent by 10 or more points. That's impressive. That's incredibly impressive. So Ohio State always does this. Ohio State always does this. Is a thing I was hearing and seeing on Twitter. And no, they don't.
Yeah.
No, they don't.
Mm-hmm. 28. 28, Jared.
Yes.
Probably one of the numbers that everybody knows right here. 28, which is the amount of points Ohio State was up in the third quarter.
I'm going to spend, and I'm going to do this because I feel like the general feeling of Buckeye Nation on Saturday and probably extending into Sunday and Monday is frustration, is anger, is despair, is other words in that general area about how this game went.
Mm-hmm.
And this is me saying you're right. I'm going to spend a lot of time on this show telling you why you shouldn't feel that way, why you should feel good, why you should feel this, why you should feel that. I had to include this number here to tell you that you are right. Because while this final score is similar to my prediction, how we got there is upsetting. So I expected Indiana to score this many points. I didn't expect Indiana to score this many points on almost exclusively big plays and on what felt like 4 straight drives. I'm not sure about that. But it just felt like there was a moment, because of Sean Wade's pick 6. That interrupted that streak. But this felt like a game. It felt like in the second half that Indiana offensively could do no wrong and Ohio State defensively could do no right. And that's the lasting impression you get from the game, and that feels terrible. And I'm here to tell you that feeling's not wrong. I'm going to try and make you feel better about that feeling, but I am not going to tell you that feeling is wrong. You're absolutely valid to feel that way because of how we got to that final score.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle, the number 7. Ohio State is down, and this is me defending the passing game, or the defensive passing game. Ohio State is down 7 defensive backs from last year. 7. We all talk about Fuller, Arnett, and Jeffrey Okudah. We all know how talented they were. We all know they're in the NFL now.
Mm-hmm.
Ohio State lost not 3, 7 defensive backs off of last year's team. They also lost 2 safeties who got themselves kicked off the team for being stupid and beyond stupid. But we don't talk about them, and for the same reason I kind of don't want to talk about them right now, because they did allegedly, they did some awful things, and they're no longer on the team. But from a pure football perspective, that's still 2 more defensive backs you were down at Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon White transferred to Rutgers. That's another safety who could have potentially contributed, and he's not. He's playing for Rutgers. And then, of course, Cam Brown goes out for the season with an Achilles injury. Was that the first or the second game, Kyle?
One of the 2.
Yeah, it's okay if you don't know. So that's 7. That is 7 defensive backs.
Yeah.
Ohio State is down from last year. I don't care how much you want to say, well, Ohio State doesn't rebuild, Ohio State reloads. And I get that. But 7 defensive backs.
Mm-hmm.
That's this. And of course, we didn't know about Cam Brown during the offseason, but we all should have seen this coming during the offseason. We all should have seen this coming. Kyle, you want to pick out a number?
169.
Nice.
Master Teague rushed for 169 yards. He ran for 6.5 yards a pop against Indiana. Now, Jared.
Yeah.
We got a lot of people who just are not fans of Master Teague this year, which, okay, I can understand. The first couple of games you can look at and you're like, oh, he's not getting the kind of rushes we're used to seeing from Ohio State running backs and blah, blah, blah. All right. Ready to throw some numbers at you, Jared.
Okay.
Ready to throw some numbers. Master Teague, sophomore, versus J.K. Dobbins, a sophomore.
Kyle, I really have to go address something super duper quick. You do this, I'll be right back, okay?
All right, sounds good. All right, Master Teague, first 4 games of the year, has 73 rushes, 380 yards, averaging over 5 yards a carry. All right, over 5 yards a carry there. J.K. Dobbins, his sophomore year, through the first 4 games of the year, he rushed for only 323 yards and did it about 5 yards a pop as well. All I'm saying here is that Master Teague is definitely not on the same level as J.K. Dobbins, especially his last year, his 3rd year there. But if you're comparing sophomore to sophomore year, Master Teague is technically having a better season than J.K. Dobbins did his sophomore year. Master Teague has 6 touchdowns in the first 4 games. J.K. Dobbins, his sophomore year, through 4 games, 2. He only had 2.
Have we addressed that Mike Weber was getting a higher dosage of the share of the carries than probably Sermon has got so far?
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, I think that's
still,
probably worth noting.
But still, like, you look at the yardage and even like the attempts, how many yards per attempt, Master Teague is surpassing JK sophomore. And I don't know that.
And I rescind what I said then.
And I know that JK's worst year out of the 3 was his sophomore year. But if you're comparing second year to second year, technically Master Teague is having a better year so far.
Kyle, that is good podcasting.
Thank you. All right, next number. Let's see, 31. 31. The number of points Jared predicted Indiana would score.
We've covered this. I've already
darn close.
Yeah.
And
is that
this
all
has
of
to
them?
be said. This has to be said just because it seems to be getting worse and worse every week, and so I've always keeping my fingers crossed when it comes Tuesday and Wednesday coming around. Keeping my fingers crossed. 16, the number of games that were postponed or canceled from last weekend.
Yeah, and it does seem to be getting worse. And for God's sake, can we push back the playoffs, please?
Yes, no, absolutely, and that's why Ohio State trying to not be the next team that has to cancel because it being at Ohio State. That's why we saw that absolutely no fans, no parents are there as well, which sucks.
Yeah.
It really does suck, but if it means them being able to play some sort of season and still be eligible for the conference championship, I think it's definitely a sacrifice that needs to be taken.
Yeah. Michael Penix, who I was hyping up on Friday, throws for over 400 yards.
Over 400? He almost threw for 500.
Almost 500 yards. Yeah, he's a very, very good quarterback. I also let you know that the wide receivers on this team were very good.
In that game, Penix was the better quarterback in that game.
I don't know.
He only had 1 turnover. He only took 2 sacks. He threw for 5 touchdowns. I mean, yes, they had to rely on Penix more to be able to win the game, but you know what? he took that on his shoulders and he excelled. He definitely excelled.
He also threw barely over 50% completion percentage. He also actually fumbled and they just didn't count it. And his one turnover he did complete or commit, that he did commit, was a pick six. One team needed to come back from behind, and whenever a team needs to come back from behind, you're always going to get quarterback inflation. I don't know. Was he better that day? You can make the argument. I'm not going to say you're wrong, but I that's the thing I've heard people repeat, and I don't think it's a fact. Again, you want to make that argument, go right ahead. Significantly more yards, less turnovers, but like Justin Fields had more yards per attempt. So we can look at nearly 500 yards, but we also need to acknowledge that he threw the ball 51 times. Justin Fields only threw the ball 30 times. That needs to be said. Let's see. We have talked about Master Teague. We have... Kyle, did we cover number 8 on our list?
We did not, which is one thing I was just wanting to talk about. 8.
Yes, please do.
Indiana's longest run of the day was 8 yards, which is 9 more than they had total for the day. I will just say this. Ohio State's defensive line,
yeah,
superb. They did a really good job.
Against the run.
Now, they only had 2 sacks, but to be fair, too, Penix has been... And I watched some of the game again a little bit. Penix got rid of the ball pretty quick. It was hard for the defensive line to get at Penix for most of the game there. And that goes back to the defensive backs giving way too much cushion or just not playing well at all. There was just so much separation between our defensive backs and Indy and his receivers that Penix was able to get rid of that ball a lot quicker than some of the times that we saw Fields, where he has to hold on to it a little bit more because of the type of zone that Indiana was playing.
Yeah, and I think it's... Ohio State eventually adjusted.
Mm-hmm.
But
the defensive tackles, especially the interior right there, that defensive tackles of Togiai. Man, Togiai just had a...
Haskell, Garrett,
Togiai had a great game.
Defensive tackles played superbly. We aren't getting production. Like, of course, Chase Young was something else. Absolutely something else. But Ohio State's not getting the production out of their defensive ends that they're used to. I think Cooper had a good play or two, as did Zach Harrison, but they aren't getting... I think we needed, or wanted anyway, Zach Harrison to sort of, again, not be Chase Young as a junior, but maybe be Chase Young as a sophomore, and we aren't getting that. And Ohio State's not getting the production out of their defensive ends that they normally count on, because they do put their defensive backs on islands. It's a thing Ohio State's done for a very long time. One of the reasons why they used to get away with it a lot was because of the pressure they would get from their defensive ends. And that's not happening right now.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's all the numbers. Did we get all of the numbers?
Yeah, I think that's about it. And I think it's time to hear from our sponsors here, Jared.
That's a good call.
All right. What do we got over at the Iron Bean Coffee Company today?
I told you a little bit about the unicorn. So I'm going to talk about why you should, out of all the places that make coffee, that roast coffee, why you should turn to Iron Bean Coffee. Kyle, the Iron Bean Coffee Company is a world-class, hand-roasted, micro-batch, fresh roasted to order coffee company. They do not roast the beans until you buy them, which is amazing. It's really great. You are supporting a Ohio-based company. They are out of Perrysburg, which is near Toledo. It is a company that is veteran-owned and whose beans are organic and fair trade certified. Coffee beans come from impoverished places a lot of the times, and a lot of the times the farmers and the people working are, it's not always good. With Iron Bean Coffee Company, you know you are getting high quality beans that were farmed in a way that won't make you feel bad. Some of their more popular coffees do come available in K-Cup. And if you have a coffee snob in your life, but maybe you aren't quite as coffee snobbish and you don't know what they like or what's good, or, well, you can always just get them a gift card. Or you can get them a sampler pack where you can get 6 small things of coffee. So either one of those, I think, would be great for the coffee lover in your life. Again, you got a gift card, or you can do the sampler pack. Or, since you get free shipping over $50, you could do both. Go ahead and toss that out there. You could do both. And if you do find that one coffee you love, or if they find that one coffee they love, you can save money with a subscription service. And you can find all of that at ironbeancoffee.com. That's Iron Bean Coffee, America's local coffee roaster.
This episode of the Sloopcast also brought to you by the Mad Canadian Barbecue Company. Mentioned some of the box sets that the Mad Canadian has. So let me go over them with you here. He has 3 box sets for your holiday spending. We have the Whole Hog, which is, he describes here, this is the mother of all box sets. A great present for that pitmaster in your life. You get 1 bottle of each of our seasons in this set. That's right, 1 bottle of each season. Never be lost for a flavor again with this complete collection from Mad Canadian Barbecue Spices. You can go with the Sweet Heat, which has the 4 Horsemen, Discord, Old Fashioned, and the 2-border. And he says here, want a little heat? What about some sweet? Why not both? Get 2 of our hottest paired with our sweetest in this box set. Definitely a great set for chicken wings.
He's listening.
And the third one here is the Just Send It, which consists of the S&P Bud, the Sonoran Heat, Cajun, and the Smoked. It says here it's a collection of our most versatile seasoning. It's the all-around collection. You can do just about anything with these 4 seasonings. Be sure to check those out at themadcanadianbbq.com. And while you're there, save even more with the promo code SloopCast10, SloopCast10 at checkout for 10% off. Mad Canadian Barbecue Company, where they have your butt covered for Christmas.
There you go. All right, Kyle, let's, we have a bunch of Ask Sloopcast questions. These are all, I think, almost all entirely about the Ohio State-Indiana game. So as far as I'm concerned, we're still in the Buckeye bounce back. Some of these we may have covered already. Some of them we may not have, but let's work our way through them.
All right, first one here. Our geographically challenged friend,
who joined the Discord.
Yes.
We guilted him into it.
Yes. And I think he likes it over here.
He does. He does.
Michigan Bucknut says, is the problem with the DB's technique or scheme?
Yeah.
That's a very good question.
And I think we got a similar question from Country Buckeye. She asks, so poor performance in more than one area. What's to blame? Nerves, poor preparation, coaching. Is Indiana that good? Similar question. Essentially, the question here is why? We aren't used to a complete position group at Ohio State failing. And I sort of went over this when I talked about the fact that Ohio State is down 7 defensive backs from last year. You weren't preparing. You were preparing to lose Akuda. You were preparing to lose Fuller. You were preparing to lose Arnett. Those guys were leaving. You knew that at the beginning of last season. You had time to prepare for that. But you didn't know you were going to lose 3 safeties. 2 of whom to criminal charges, a third went to Rutgers, and then Cam Brown, you thought all offseason you were going to have until he ruptures his Achilles. I think, by the way, it might not be a rupture. I don't know the actual detail of his Achilles. But he hurts his Achilles. So, yeah, you're hurting for depth, you're hurting for talent, and you have a lot of people in there, especially once you start bringing in your nickel corners and your dime corners, who just aren't ready yet. Who aren't ready yet from an experience standpoint, from a developmental standpoint. So when Michigan Bucknut asks us, is it technique or scheme? It's kind of both.
Yeah, I was thinking kind of both. I think a lot of
Because,
it, probably more so with the technique, and there's a couple of plays that really stick out in my mind. The one especially when they really covered it right on the spot, when it was I don't think it was a touchdown, maybe it was. Pretty much you had two receivers were pretty much running almost fly routes, and then you had the outside corner covering out, and then you had the safety coming down, but then it was for some reason covering the outside receiver, and then the inside receiver just did a fly straight up, and no one was covering him.
yeah, that I think was a touchdown, and I'm going to say that I don't like calling out players, but Marcus Hooker's playing very, very poorly.
Mm-hmm. And another person too, if you want to start throwing names out there, Jared, it's Seven Banks.
Seven Banks, I think, gives up the first big play by Indiana. And let me say that he bid on a double move. But I still think someone should have been over top. I don't know if someone was supposed to be over top or not.
Yeah, there were so many mistakes, just so many miscues there too. Like there was another one where it looked like they were playing man to man, but I don't know if it was Banks or a different corner. They seemed like they were playing. He was playing zone, but was playing a quarter zone, like up front, and the receiver just kind of went right by and was like, "No one's here," and just wide open.
That was a linebacker. So if you want to ask yourself, was he supposed to be man to man, or was he supposed to have the flat zone?
Yeah,
probably was supposed to have the flat zone, because I don't think you're asking your linebacker to cover one-on-one man-to-man on the outside like that. Now, if they are, scheme issue.
Yeah.
But I don't think that they were. So he releases the wide receiver, assuming that someone is supposed to get him deep, but no one was there deep.
Yep. So I think it's a little bit of both. I definitely think there is, and it goes back to what we've said before too. Is just the preparation, the practice time to prepare for this. We're still. This is their fourth game, and I understand they're halfway through their season right now, and we have to at this point now. We're 4 games in now. This stuff has to be cleaned up now. It has to be cleaned up.
I don't know that it can be,
and that's the question: will it be or will it not be?
Because we can talk about scheme and technique and talent and all of those things, but ultimately you want to say, well, get so and so out of there. I don't know who you're putting in to replace him.
Yep.
And there's some really talented young safeties that came onto the team, but they're talented, but they're young, and an abbreviated. So you have to start talking about the fact that this is 2020. And they had a very abbreviated, stinted, interrupted offseason. You lose 7 defensive backs, and then add 2020 on top of it. And then, by the way, you also have a new secondary coach. And I get that this is not Kerry Combs' first rodeo at Ohio State, but it's a new secondary coach. So you have a new secondary coach. You're missing 7 defensive backs, and then 2020. We should not be surprised that Ohio State is having issues in the secondary. The good news I have for you is that Ohio State is capable of scoring with anyone in the country in case you get into a shootout. And no one's playing good pass defense right now. Everyone's getting lit up. Bama's been lit up through the air. Clemson's been eaten up through the air. Florida's been eaten up through the air. Everyone's getting eaten up through the air this year because 2020 happened to everyone. And it's a little bit easier for quarterbacks and wide receivers to click it's easier for quarterbacks and wide receivers to sort of click and get their timing down and to carry that over from one year to the next than it is for defensive backs, especially when you're talking about working zones.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, it's still schematic because at some point you need to admit that you can't do what you want to do and start focusing on what you can do. And I think Ohio State's at that point because I don't think from a talent or developmental or technique standpoint that things are going to get significantly better this year. So you have to adjust the scheme.
Mm-hmm. All right. Stuart_E4 US Vet asks, let's see, one that's not what we talked about. Let's see. Do we do any adjustments at halftime? Why have we got waxed in the second half of the last two games?
Well, I'd like to point out that you talk about halftime adjustments. Ohio State was up 28 to 7 at halftime, and then immediately came out and scored and put it up 35-7 at halftime. After the first drive of the second half, Ohio State was up 35-7.
The better question is there a problem with trying to make adjustments during the game?
I don't think so. Ohio State was not picking up blitzes all that well, which is why we saw sacks and mistakes and holding calls in the first quarter. And you saw in the second quarter Ohio State adjust and start moving to quicker passes.
Mm-hmm.
That's a thing that they did. And I saw a lot of people like, why aren't they, they're blitzing, run a screen. Ohio State was running those screens, and Indiana was not biting on them. I'd like to point out that Justin Fields' second interception was on a screen pass. And one of the reasons why he panicked threw it towards the sidelines, but didn't make it to the sidelines, or maybe it was it Olave? Doesn't matter. To begin with, was because Indiana covered the screen. There's no worse feeling as a quarterback than going to throw a screen because you know pressure's coming because your offensive linemen are out there with the running back, and then realizing that the screen is covered. Now, Justin Fields at that point should have immediately thrown it out of bounds instead of trying to make something happen, but that's the type of day Justin Fields had. It should have been a little bit more, a little quicker to throw the ball out of bounds. And again, I think this punch in the nose that Justin Fields took is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because now he's not super worried about his completion percentage or winning and by the way, he can still win a Heisman. Anyone who says that his Heisman, that's ridiculous. He can still win a Heisman. But it
hurt, but it's not out of the, it's out of the way.
It's fine.
He's fine.
He's fine.
Z-Spike68. Since we had 2 weeks to prepare and try to fix some of the issues in the secondary and didn't work, is the secondary now an unfixable disaster for the rest of the season?
No, not unfixable disaster.
But it's definitely a concern.
It's a concern. It's a concern, and it will be for the rest of the season. And this has to be the coaching staff that fixes it now, because I don't think there's anything wrong with Ohio State's scheme, generally speaking. But I don't think that the players on this team are capable this year of running the scheme.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to adjust the scheme.
Yep. And Brawley was asking about, is it scheme, technique, or discipline that's causing our safeties to never be in the right position on the deep passes?
First off, I'm going to say Proctor's been playing well. So I would like to knock the S off of that safeties and put more of it on one of them in particular.
Yep.
But I would say technique and discipline, or
I would think discipline is another big one. Yes.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
And by the way, just on discipline real quick, if you're holding Indiana to -1 yards for an entire game, hey, safety, maybe don't rush. Don't rush the line of scrimmage.
Don't bite.
The big dude's got it.
Don't bite.
The linebacker's got it. The D line's got it. You don't need to go rushing up there on a play action pass. It's really just not necessary.
Well, especially for how many times they've been throwing the deep balls.
Yes.
Give them that extra space in front. Keep everything in front of you.
You know what? That would be a good thing. It's almost like you're back there as a safe blanket. Some sort of safe T player. I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. Something like that. Something like that.
All right. Let's see. Stewart _E4 US Vet. Did it hurt us having a week off?
No. I mean, we talked on the Friday episode about how, and I think he does actually go on to say, yeah, he does. Especially since it would have been again. Yeah, we talked on the Friday episode how it would have been nice to sort of take a baby step because Maryland would have been the best offensive passing team Ohio State had played all year. And then Indiana is that much better.
Yep.
That baby step would have been nice.
Yeah. He has one more question here.
So maybe yes?
Yeah. Yes.
Did I talk my way into a yes on that?
Yes. What's a truer statement? Indiana is a well-coached football team with better talent than they've had recently, or Ohio State isn't as good as we think we are, or Ohio State isn't playing up to its full potential right now. So Indiana is a well-coached team and has better talent. That is a true statement.
Better talent than Indiana's past. Is that what we're saying when we say better talent?
Yes.
Okay. Not better talent than Ohio State, but better than previous Indianas.
So which was more true? That part, or Ohio State isn't playing up to its full potential right now?
Which one is more true?
Yes.
That Indiana's a good football team. That is more true. Ohio State, I've already waxed on about what's wrong with the defensive backs. I think the defensive line, the interior of the defensive line is playing excellent, exceeding my expectations. The defensive ends are playing fine. I'm not saying the defensive ends are playing poorly, but they aren't creating the same production that we're used to out of Ohio State. And I think the linebackers, well, I'll just put it out there like this. Ohio State fans aren't complaining about the linebackers anymore.
Nope.
And that was their favorite thing to do for like the past 3 years. So I think the linebackers are playing fine.
At least, yeah.
I saw like one bad play from Pete Warner, and I think, quite frankly, he was put in a position in which he was
put in a tough one, and thankfully the running back couldn't hold on to it.
Yeah. So Pete Warner probably shouldn't have been in that position.
Probably the second most concerning position right now is what Brawley's next question here is. This O-line was supposed to be good, if not great.
Yeah.
The issue seems to be communication and picking up blitzes. Is that a reason or an excuse that the line isn't as good as expected?
That's a reason. Because that's not an excuse. That's a terrible accusation. 4 games in that they have communication issue and that they're not picking up blitzes, that's not an excuse. That's an accusation. It'd be one thing if we were talking about week 1 or 2. No, we're talking about game 4. That's not an excuse. That's an accusation, and it's a fair accusation. And it's an accusation that we also need to start talking about Justin Fields as well. Mm-hmm. Because he can and maybe should be adjusting or assisting is the word I wanted there. Assisting in calling out blitzes and making sure that everyone's on the same page and picking them up.
Yeah. And I think for the Indiana game, I think this is true here. He said, schematically, is it time to go back to a too high cover 2-man instead of running cover 1-man?
They were playing some 2 safeties in the second half. Maybe they should be doing that with more regularity.
Yep.
But or maybe not, depending upon how you feel about Ohio State safeties right now.
Yeah.
But maybe 2 true safeties is the way to go, because a lot of the time they're playing with 1 safety over top and then Pete Warner's playing that sort of safety hybrid position. But maybe 2 true safeties is a necessity. But I want to point out that both Proctor and Hooker were on the field during much of the second half. They were in too deep safety. Well, I don't necessarily want to say they were too. I don't have the all-22 to say that they were in too deep safety the entire second half, but they did have both of those players out there for the second half.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Next question.
Yes, next question. And I've seen this a number of times here. Is it safe to say Sean Wade hurt his draft stock coming back? Is he a true outside corner, or should he stay in the slot?
Did he hurt his... I hate to say it, but yeah, I think so.
At this point right now, yes.
I think he has. I also don't think he's playing nearly as badly as people are accusing him of playing. I think that he is being put one-on-one a lot. And I think that even on a lot of the plays in which he has lost,
They were contested.
He's not been out of position. I don't think, and I'm not saying he's playing.
Well, and the one that was a
I was
touchdown,
about to say,
the one that was a touchdown, that was an offensive pass interference. You could clearly see the receiver, just like you saw it in
Kyle.
Friday night's game here. You can see the wide receiver extending his arm out, creating space. That, by definition, is offensive pass interference.
Yeah, so is sending your tight end blocking 10 yards down the field on
That
a passing
too,
play.
yeah.
But let's not even crack that can open because we're already an hour in. And if you want to get me started on Indiana, people kept calling them pick plays. They weren't pick plays. They weren't even trying to disguise the offensive pass interference. The tight end was running down the field and blocking dudes.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Let's see here. Let's talk some good things here. Garrett Wilson. Will Garrett Wilson surpass Chris Carter's record of consecutive 100-yard games? Garrett Wilson is now 4. Chris Carter's is 5. Will he surpass? So that saying that he needs 100-yard games against Illinois and Sparty. I think he has a good shot at that.
I think based on the talent level, the talent levels of Illinois, and by the way, they're low, just so we're clear. Well, the talent levels of Illinois and Michigan State help or hurt in this probably depends upon if he gets those early yards or not.
Yeah, and we saw too, the amount of passes that are going toward other receivers. There's a very good chance, yes, because you look at Indiana game here. Of the 18 completions, 3. Only 3 were completed to outside of Wilson and Olave.
For how many catches in total?
Olave had 8 catches. Wilson had 7. Sermon 1, Juice Williams 1, and JSN 1.
What was Austin's question about 14 receptions not to Olave or Wilson? You don't have to look it up. I think it was something like that. Not even close.
Yeah.
You could have subtracted 10 off that number.
All right. Going along with that here, have Olave and Wilson cemented themselves as one of the best receiver duos in OSU history? Almost there. Almost.
Cemented? No.
Not cemented.
In the conversation, absolutely.
Yes.
The debate can be made.
The way that they're going, if they continue this rate,
yeah,
you could probably start leveling off that cement.
Well, and part of the issue I think we have to consider is comparing cross-generation statistics because passing is just a different thing than it was 10 years ago, let alone 20 years ago, let alone 30 years ago. So it's hard to compare apples to apples when, even though you're like, oh, receiving yards to receiving yards, but the eras are just so different. But they're in the conversation, absolutely. Cemented, no.
Dinger, have you ever seen that many pick plays in one game? Yes.
I told you not to get me started.
I'm going to say yes.
Damn it, Dinger.
I'm going to say yes because Ohio State has done that many times in the past. So, yes.
Listen.
Legally.
There is a difference between running 2 guys on a crossing pattern and if something happens, versus Sending your tight end downfield to block. Now, has Ohio State in the past run a lot of mesh concepts and a lot of bunch concepts in
Everyone
order
should
to
be shaking their head.
Yes. I haven't got to the butt yet. In order to create rubs, in order to create screens that naturally happen because the players are all cramped together. Yeah. That was a big thing of Urban Meyer's offense, and they still do it now. Maybe not to the same extent, but it was a huge thing in Urban Meyer's offense. But there's a difference between creating chaos with your play design versus cheating. Knowingly, willingly, by design, cheating. God damn it, Dinger, I told you not to get me started.
All right. Let's see. Duncan from the Discord. Who's your mid-season coach of the year?
Oh, boy. Mid-season coach of the year. I don't know. Fickle. That's an answer. Matt Campbell. Luke Fickle. I'm just naming guys who are up for jobs. Is what I'm doing right now. I don't know the BYU coach. I'm not going to think of the BYU's coach's name, but I think he certainly deserves a look or two in that discussion.
Even though they lost Tom Allen.
Tom Allen and Greg Schiano.
Mm-hmm. More on Greg Schiano here soon.
Yeah.
Duncan
Next question.
He also asks, did I hear a boo track in the shoe during some of those bad calls?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
I didn't think the Big Ten was going to let that happen. But it happened.
Yep. All right. Last question from our homie Suncard. What are typical ways an offense makes a defense pay for blitzing, and were the Bucks trying to do those things? I recall they tried to do it a couple times and they succeeded once to make a defense ease up on blitzing and then extreme blitzing, screens.
But they tried. Indiana was great for a team that was blitzing aggressively. They were also very good at not biting on screens. I think Ohio State ran a bunch of screens, and I think only one of them was successful.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I would have loved to have seen some quick passes over the middle to the tight ends.
Yes, tight ends. That's exactly what I'm thinking. The tight ends, or doing like chip blocks, get the running back out there then in the space too. One thing that really made J.K. Dobbins really succeed, him going out, just doing I forget the exact pattern, but angle and then cut right back to the middle there, wide open right there.
Yeah.
I don't know if Master Teague has that kind of agility to do that compared to J.K. Dobbins. But
Sermon does. But Sermon is also a bit of a liability in the pass protection. You want to know why Ohio State was so susceptible to tight ends during the Greg Schiano era? Because he always had the linebackers playing up. And because he liked to blitz his linebackers or move his linebackers around, which does what? Empties the middle of the field. Which does what? Leaves lots of room open for tight ends.
Yes. Yep. That's what you need to do.
They tried with the screen passes and they tried with the swing passes. Mm-hmm. Would have loved to have seen some more love to Jeremy Ruckert and crew.
Yes. All right. That is it for the game there, Jared. Like we mentioned before, Ohio State plays Illinois next Saturday at 12 o'clock on Fox Sports 1. All right. Let's get ready to go national.
Yes, let's go national. And, hey, look at that. We're running over. So let's go ahead and do this lightning round. As always.
Minnesota beats out Purdue 34-31.
I have no idea who Minnesota is.
Me either.
They're great one week and trash the next. I also think Purdue is overrated.
Illinois, Ohio State's next opponent, beats Nebraska 41-23. I was not expecting that big of a beatdown.
Illinois getting better, question mark?
Maybe.
This game happened at the same time as the Ohio State game. I haven't got a chance to watch like the Big Ten. You can watch the Big Ten re-airings, which is a thing I plan on doing, but I haven't had a chance to yet. So I have no idea what happened here. Is Illinois getting better, or has Nebraska folded for the year? I'm gonna watch the film. I'm gonna watch the thing on the Big Ten Network, and I'm gonna let you know.
Florida beats Vanderbilt 38-17.
Kyle Trask is good. That's really he's very very good. I understand that Vanderbilt isn't. And by the way, Florida struggled early with Vanderbilt. It's not just Ohio State, you guys. Everyone has games like that. They pumped up the score at the end, but it's fine.
Speaking of pumping up the score, BYU 66 over North Alabama 14.
That's only to say BYU is still humiliating people, but they still haven't played anyone. And Kyle, when you said, speaking of pumping up the score, I thought you were going to ironically take us to the next game.
Northwestern and Wisconsin. This was surprising. Northwestern beats Wisconsin 17-7.
Kyle, as the official driver of the Graham Mertz hype bus, I would like to resign. Next, he's still very talented. We'll see next year. Off season 2020, all that crap. It's weighing pretty heavily. A lack of experience due to all the games Wisconsin missed. All that. Graham Mertz still has a great future, but the wheels have fallen off the bus for him and by proxy Wisconsin for the year 2020.
Yeah, Northwestern in the driver's seat right now in the big Northwest.
Absolutely.
Iowa absolutely spanks Penn State 41-21.
I only added this to our Going National to say this. Penn State has been playing college football since the 1890s. The 1890s. This is their first 0-5 start ever. That's a record you don't want to break.
No, it's not.
That's not. Sometimes with college football we say, well, the highest in the modern era. Nope.
Ever. Right. Oregon beats UCLA 38-35 to stay undefeated.
Again, a close one. UCLA not that great.
You got to keep an eye on them. Speaking of another team to keep an eye on, Cincinnati staying undefeated as well, beating out UCF 36-33.
Kyle, I'm mad at you.
Okay.
Because I was like this close to picking UCF in the Sloot picks, and then you talked me out of it. And I think literally everyone in the Sloot picks, in our online Sloot picks, literally everyone picked Cincinnati. And by the way, of the three on-show pickers, I won.
Yes. All right. Alabama.
Stewart _E4US Vet was the only person to go above 500 in this week's Slow Picks. After a great week last week, we all collectively shat the bed.
We did, yes. Speaking of shat in the bed, Kentucky, 3 points to Alabama 63.
That bed was shattered a long time ago, Kyle.
I don't know why you put this. NC State 15, Liberty 14.
Well, because Liberty was previously undefeated and ranked. So this realistically might be the only actual team chaos of the week.
All right. Michigan in 3 overtimes defeats Rutgers.
And had to come back to do it. Oh my God, it's just so much fun. I almost lost my headset. That's how much fun we're having.
Yes.
God, Michigan is terrible. Penn State is terrible. And it's just the best. That's it. That's all I wanted to say.
That division is terrible.
Oh, by the way, can I couple? You mean the division we're in?
Oh, yeah.
Can I couple that to say that Tennessee, Rutgers almost beats Michigan. Tennessee loses pretty handedly to Auburn, who's also not very good. Hey, Clay Travis. We're going to do this again, Clay Travis. Someone clip this part of the show and send it to Clay Travis. How you feeling about costing Tennessee Greg Schiano and putting Pruitt in? Because this is your fault. I want you to know that, Clay Travis. Clay Travis, this is your fault. You caused this. Your favorite program is in the complete shitter right now, and it's your fault. Your fault. And no, do not say, well, Greg Schiano and Penn State and blah, we didn't believe you then, we don't believe you now. Don't say it. No one believes you. No one believes you, Clay Travis. You screwed your own football program. You, as a fan who is in no way associated with the football program, ruined it. Some people joke about wearing the right socks or wearing the right hat or wearing the right pants or sitting in the right chair, and just to sort of give us some sort of false sense of control, that somehow we can control what our favorite football teams do, when in actuality we're just fans. You, as a fan, actually screwed your favorite football team. It is a very rare distinction. You're basically the Bartman, the Cubs baseball fan of college football. Congrats, buddy.
Tennessee, one of the most laughing stock programs in the Power Five conferences.
Michigan, Penn State, Texas. I can keep going, Kyle. It's a real.
At least most of those have winning records most of the time.
But Michigan and Penn State and Texas.
When's the last time Tennessee won their conference?
When's the last time?
Let me call Peyton Manning real quick. See if he...
T. Martin. Peyton Manning. People, revisionist history. Peyton Manning did not win the SEC. Did he win the SEC? But he didn't win the national title. Tennessee won the national title the year after Peyton Manning with quarterback T. Martin. I was 11. Why do I know these things?
I don't know. It's just what a joke of a football program that is. I was just looking to see like when the last time they won a conference, and I just do not care anymore. I just do not care. Last time they won the division,
your scroll finger got tired.
It did, yes. The last time they won their division was in 2007. And I guarantee you they didn't win it that year.
Yeah.
Guarantee you they didn't. All right, moving on.
They did not.
Oklahoma beats Oklahoma State 41-13.
So every single team in the Big 12 now has at least 2 losses.
Big 12
we joked a long time ago about how the Big 12 was out of contention. They were out of the playoffs, eliminated. Now they really, really are. Like, mathematically. That's it. That's all I wanted to say about that. And I'm sorry I dropped my phone on the desk.
And last one here, Georgia beats Mississippi State 31-24.
Kyle, they finally put in JT Daniels, the former 5-star recruit transfer from USC. Finally. They played the walk-on, whose name is a hat. They finally... I think that's funny. They finally put in the former 5-star recruit. And guess what? He walks into a game in which Georgia was losing, lights things on fire, and then Georgia wins. Kyle, my question to you is this. Why does Kirby Smart hate 5-star quarterbacks?
I have no idea. No idea.
First Justin Fields, now JT Daniels? Why does he refuse to play 5-star quarterbacks?
I don't know.
Stenson Bennett. I pray to God, Stenson Bennett. Stenson's a hat, right? Stenson Bennett. Please start next week. I want it so much. Well, no, Stenson Bennett's our guy.
All right, real quick here, Jared. Since the playoff committee's coming out with their first rankings, we're gonna project ours. Top four teams, Jared.
Yep.
Who do you got?
Bama, Notre Dame, Ohio State. Question mark? That's been my... it's probably Clemson, in all honesty. It's Clemson. So yeah, in that order...
That's what I got. And I got right there at a close 5th, Cincinnati.
I don't think it's close, honestly. I'm sorry. I want it to be the Bearcats.
And that 5-6 Cincinnati and Florida.
Florida, BYU? I mean, they've literally beaten no one, but they're doing so impressively.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. All right. That is it. That is it for this episode.
All right. I want to encourage everyone to do all the things. Make sure to visit our Discord or join our Discord. There's both we have the premium section. We also have a free section. We got several new members this week. It's growing in popularity and therefore fun. So lots of people in there. Come join our Discord. If you want the premium channels or if you want early access to episodes, premium placement in the Ask Sloopcast, participation in offline events, make sure to visit the Patreon and join up for at least the $3 tier. That'll get you access to all of the things you want. Kyle, that's all the talking I feel like doing. What do you have in Kyle's Corner?
The Columbus Crew beats New York Red Bulls 3-2 to move on in the MLS playoffs. That team is to be determined.
Yeah, more on that. It's complicated.
Very complicated. They play Philadelphia, New England, Toronto, or Nashville. One of those teams.
Yeah, it's complicated. So, but they don't play until next weekend, so we'll tell you who they play on the next episode. Anything else in Kyle's Corner?
Want to say congrats to a few Ohio high school football teams.
Yes.
These are the winners of state championships, -1, which is be playing here in about an hour from when we're recording.
Well, we'll just shout them both out.
Yep. So Cincinnati St. Xavier, New Bremen, Akron Archbishop Hoban, Kirtland, Chardon, and Van Wert, which Van Wert's victory is their first in school history.
Nice.
And Division 6 is New Middleton, Springfield, and Coldwater, which beat my good old Columbus Grove Bulldogs. So.
Yeah, so we don't know. Yeah, we don't know who won Division 6 yet. I think they kick off like an hour or so into our future. But whoever wins that, congratulations to them as well. Kyle, is anything else in Kyle's Corner?
That's it. That's it for today.
Okay. Prayers up to Joe Burrow. I'll go ahead and toss that out there. That looks bad. And
I hope nasty.
I hope he's. I think. All right. I was about to say I hope he's okay, but I'm pretty sure he's not. So
there's some great photos out there of Buckeye players just there to support Joe Burrow.
He was playing the Redskins, and there's a lot of Buckeye players who play for the Redskins.
Yeah. And Jared, I'm sharing a second picture as you can see here. Like the first one here, you can see there's like a really close up of Haskins, just pretty much just like butting heads with Joe Burrow, and then there's another one where Haskins is there and McLaurin's there.
I think you meant
Chase Young is there too.
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
Yeah, Chase Young did, and of course it's football. It was not intentional, but Chase Young did play a part in the injury. But it was a football play. Shit happens. No one's blaming him. But
all that's missing here was like Billy Price, and then that would have been from Cincinnati in that picture frame, and that would have been just perfect there.
Yeah. So that Buckeye blood runs deep.
Yes. As we say, the brotherhood.
Yes, absolutely. Anything else in Kyle's Corner?
That's it.
Okay. Tonight's ending music will be a punk band, I think out of Dayton. You can figure it out for yourself. Visit their Bandcamp page and figure it out for yourself. But the name of the band is City Cop. And so go ahead and check the show notes for the name of the song, a link to their Bandcamp or something else page. And I think that's it. So I'd like to encourage everyone to drink local beer, listen to local music, and of course support your local podcasters. Once again, this is City Cop.
Hey, Jerry.
Yeah.
The Cleveland Browns now second place in their division. As of right now, as we're recording.
You say that like I care. Oh, well, how do you always figure this out? How do you always show up for the YouTube section? How do you do that? You're a very good boy. You have very good timing. Yeah, except when you bumped the mic in the first part of the show. That was not good. No, you're still good. It's still good. Don't look sad because I said you weren't. Say hi to the camera. Sniff the microphone. It smells the same as it smelled last time, buddy. I promise. All right, let's rejoin our audio listeners. I'll do the ad read with Apollo on my lap. I do not care. All right. Once again, I'd like to thank City Cop for ending today's show. And of course, I'd like to thank the Iron Bean Coffee Company for sponsoring today's show. Kyle, I told you why you should buy from the Iron Bean Coffee Company in the second ad read. In the first ad read, I told you all about the Unicorn, which is their fun R&D random bag of coffee. Let's talk about some of their not flavored coffees now. Let's talk about some of their other ones. First off, there is the Fierce. The Fierce is a dark roast that is highly caffeinated. So if you're someone who likes to get a buzz going in the morning, I'm going to direct you to the Fierce. My favorite so far, and I've only had a few so far, so I reserve the right to change this later. My favorite one so far would be the Cast Iron. That's a medium roast. There is the Odin, which is a dark roast. And there's a trio, actually, of Nordic-inspired named coffees. There's also the Thor, which is a medium dark roast, and the Loki, which is a medium light roast. You can get a Rocco. The Rocco is Ethiopian beans. You can get that both medium and dark, dealer's choice. And there are others too. The list keeps going. I'm not going to read them all to you. But if you want to see them all for yourself, you can go to ironbeancoffee.com. Christmas is coming. They do gift cards. They do a sampler pack. The packaging, by the way, is rad. I want to say that. They have really rad packaging. I've been saying this lately, and I think it's true. They sort of have like a craft brew attitude, but they roast coffee instead. That's sort of how I've been thinking about them lately. And the product is great. And like I said, ironbeancoffee.com. Christmas is coming. Do the sampler pack. Do some gift cards. Free shipping over $50. Iron Bean Coffee, America's local coffee roaster.
This episode of the Sloopcast also brought to you by the Mad Canadian Barbecue Company. Mad Canadian is an Ohio-based company. It's been around for a year now. It's been around a year and has been
with us.
With us.
With
yes.
us for a year.
With us, yes.
Dog barks. Just power through it. We're almost
we're
there.
We're going to power through this.
Just power through it.
Let's go through his ribs section. Rib rubs. He has here the old fashioned. It's an interesting spice. It mimicked off of the classic drink. It has a sweet bourbon with a right kick of bitter. Or you can go with the Discord. It's let's see here. It says here, it's our way of the Four Horsemen. It was a very spicy seasoning. Has another blend that's fantastic. Like I said, it's similar, but with a sweeter base to it. You can go with Coffee and Q, one of Jared's favorite there. It's a blend of coffee and barbecue seasoning.
The coffee is the Cast Iron, by the way.
Yes, that offers just the right amount of coffee flavor and barbecue flavor that will add something extra to your food. Or you can go with the Tube Border. Tube Border is a great maple, sugar, pepper type of seasoning. Great for like breakfast meals. Put that on some eggs. It's just a great seasoning, especially for your morning routine there. Check out these and all the great seasonings over at the Mad Canadian BBQ. That is madcanadianbbq.com. Be sure to use the promo code SLOOPCAST10 at checkout for 10% off your entire order. Mad Canadian Barbecue Company, where they have your butt covered.
Hey, YouTube. Real quick, I think I forgot to say this last time. My Face, playlist. Listen to all of the Season 6 episodes. Kyle's Face, subscribe. It either says Buckeye Scoop or it says Buckeye Sloopcast, depending upon which channel you're watching this on. I don't care where you watch it, but please subscribe to both channels. Peace.